Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and many thanks, Bruce, for the introduction. Now, what I'll be doing today is I want to speak in Scots the whole time if I can. If you cannot understand me, let me ken. But what I'll be doing is there's in the read text, you hate English. So if you can read along in English, but I'll try to, we standing up here to do an official thing, it's not easy to bide with just speaking Scots the whole time, so I might just slip into English as well. So you'll just take that breath. I think Bruce has covered a thing over here and here, but we're going to begin from veggie shepherd's pie all the way to neural networks. So I think we're going to speak about today. So first off, we'll start off with, fit is Scots or Doric, because you might not ken fit it is, and we'll try to understand fit why is spicking it formal, even a thing that we hate to speak about. Fit why do we need to speak it formal? I'll then speak about your news and your editorial philosophy. It's called constructive realism, because we're all about we're not wanting any tribalism. We're all wanting to band together, and Scots is seen for abdi. Doesn't matter about your politics. I'll speak about fit Gartney to start, or to start doing your news, and develop AI for Scots. And then I'll speak about fine-tune.yournews.co.uk and how abdi can help out with making this Scots AI. And I'll speak about fits nice for it. And if anybody's interested, I'll pin it towards a couple of things, because I've got a boot camp in Woodhouse. Now first off, fit Scots. Now, fit certainly isna is slang, or anything like that. It's nae a good word for it. It's a West Germanic sister language to English. It has distinct vocabulary, distinct grammar. There's many a time that folk will tell you off for haying wrong grammar, and it's nae. It's good Scots grammar. We have mere Norse, Dutch, Low Saxon and Gaelic words, as well as additional French words that we just didn't hear in English, such as tassie and ashit. It was the main lead of the boroughs, the eastern ports, Solal and Fairmont Airts, at a formative period in Scotland's history. So from the 12th century to the 16th century, it was the lead of Scotland. And it was for the courts, and it was just the lead of our country. So I just make my point out, Scot, or Scots itself, is a Latin exonym for a Gaelic tribe that died in Northern Ireland, that then came out of Scotland, and Aberdeen can displace Scotland, and that was the name in Scots for Scotland. So that's, but it's fit as a folk, Germanic folk of Dean. The Prussians started to call their lead Prussian, and Afrikaans is called Afrikaans. So before the Union of the Croons, this was Lead of Kurds. But then we had the Union of the Croons, and it was actually a Scottish king that did this to us. It wasn't the English folk that did this to us, it was Scottish folk ourselves. And the English Bible. See, at that point in time, fit the Scots, it wasn't the lead of high status. If Jesus didn't speak Doric, so, and as well as that, we had education, and that's when Scotland's prudo. We had some of the most educated folk in the whole of Europe, the most literate folk in the whole of Europe, and they were all bilingual. They kept their own lead, they kept their own Scots, but they had to write that and do in English. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Being bilingual, but not being able to write down your Scots is the problem. And in living memory, so I don't care if anybody here you can mind this happening to them, but folk became corporal punishment at school for speaking Scots. So as well as getting told off for speaking Scots, and then you weren't getting any education in Scots, so you didn't ken foot spelling anything, didn't ken any of the grammar, you just tell it's wrong. But I didn't want to get dwelling on this for the main point, Mark. This is fit why it has a low social status. This is fit why speaking formally in Doric isn't something that folk would always do. Because if you to get to kind of point in your life for your speaking in front of folk, you've had to do a lot of that in English, and that's just what you're learned to do, is to switch to speaking English all the time. So this is fit why we were news. We didn't want to dwell on this. We want to move for it. Good news, bad news. That's in the past now, and there's some after good news. So Scots is new official language of Scotland. So far here came that. So it's 2, 3, 4. So this is a thing with news. We have a problem with news in our country. So why does nobody care? It's Scots is new official language of Scotland. So this happened when St Andrew's Day is here, when it was actually made official. It ginked through Parliament in July. So this is Arfagweed news for Scots and for Scotland. And it was something that had cross-party support. But anyway, with your news, what we're trying to do is we just didn't want any of this kind of divisive language. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to screeve for Aberdeen. We're near about independence, it doesn't matter. Obviously, we might screeve about it and we'll screeve about the facts, and Aberdeen can mark their own minds up about it. But we're aiming to screeve for independent supporters, unionists, screeve for Aberdeen. But if we're going to hate screeve about anything political, we're pacifist, we support human rights, and we support democratically regulated free markets. And for the new, what we mainly do is report on press releases. Now, what I'm trying to do with your news, so Spikkin Scots, Ken, if you travel around Scotland, you'll be okay, Scots is alive and real, folk are speaking Scots all the time. But Ken, if you log into some folk for a long time, kind of family that speak Scots, okay, my family speaks Scots, but we don't speak Scots all the time. We're bombarded with English. Ken, if you're only reading English, you'll hear somebody that's speaking great Scots, and then someone will pop up on their phone, they'll put some news, they'll read out the headline in English, and then the conversation will switch to English. So one of the main aims that I'm trying to do with our news is to let folk ken about the world in Scots. So you can learn about the world in Scots, think about the world in Scots. So you're just having to do this mental switching all the time between English and Scots. And what that does to you is it stops you from thinking in your own lead. And this is what we're trying to use to pick this right. So if you get onto the website, you can pick what sort of Scots you want to read. That'll bring up kind of a thing you can scroll through, and you'll kind of feed with other different types of articles, and then you can click on an article and can hear read it. Now on your news, what we actually have is figure parallel texts. Now if anybody likes to learn languages, things that's half a weed to do is to hear parallel text. So you hear the lead that you can, and then you hear the other lead. And for leads that are similar to hearing the thing, it's an half a weed way to learn. But it's an half a weed thing to do for Scots speakers. Because for myself, I'm a Doric speaker, and for me, Central Scots just does not represent what I speak. I hate again through the same mental kind of looping around as I do with reading English, with reading Central Scots. And it's the same with reading Shetlandic and Orcadian. So I hate this, again, we hate just about the same mutual intelligibility differences between ourselves, as say to Northumbrians, for example, because it's a continuum that we have across the whole of our country. So fit with these, we have ilka articles in all the different versions. To start off with, ilka article had half hour, but for the new, I'm just mainly doing the English and the Doric aims, because I've got a great Doric audience. There's plenty of folk that are reading the Doric articles. It gets a lot of interest. I'm a Doric speaker, I guess folk trust it more, but there's just maybe there's no the same literacy in the rest of Scotland. But anyway, it's just a thing that doesn't seem as popular, but fit and sick is folk to help you with it, that can do that to Scots. The other thing I just want to speak about is fit with you, it's different. So fit I'm speaking about is press releases. You fit your Michna Kane, is it even in the printed papers? It's nae deemed by a human anymore. You have AI assisted journalists for all the major papers. It's fit they're doing, and they're putting it into print. And so to fight against this, and to even have any competition with the likes of the Daily Record or any newspaper in Scotland, or even the National, we're going to use AI to accelerate what we can do. But we don't just tap the press release and then scream an article for it. So you hear the same kind of about a sustainable alternative to cremation. So this is we cried water cremation. But I did a wee bit of research about it. It turns out the inventor of it is actually a Scot. And he couldn't do it in Scotland. It's only new that they changed the law that he can bring his invention home. So this again, there's a lot more to this story than just, we've changed the law now. But we do a wee bit of investigative journalism, but just for you can do for your desk. Because I have a full-time job of my own. I'm a chartered chemical engineer. This isn't a fit I do all the time.